everybody, how's it going out there? Gun Psychiatrist here, and welcome back to part 3 of the Kentucky Rifle build. So in part 3, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be inletting the trigger guard assembly, and then of course we're going to clean up this mess on the back of this stock and make everything nice, smooth, and flush. I think inletting right here is going to be fairly easy. The challenging part's going to come down to removing all this chunk of wood out of here to get it nice and smooth and level with the butt plate. And we'll just have to see how everything progresses. So before we get started, make sure you hit that little subscribe button down below, like this video, and tell your friends and family about our Gunstreamer and YouTube channels. You can also find me on Gunstreamer at the Gun Psychiatrist. Now that we got that out of the way, I hope you're ready to learn. I'm pretty excited to see what we're going to get ourselves into today. So the first thing we got to do is we got to inlet this trigger guard in the trigger. Before we get to that, let's go ahead and get the trigger installed. And that would be this piece right here. It slides up into channel like that. Okay, so with the trigger, which by the way there is a little tiny spring that's in the trigger that likes to pop out very easy, so I'll have a video at some point how to get this back in. So with the trigger, we need to fit it to where it's level. The rear of this is going to interfere with this piece of wood right here, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to inlet that and get the angles just right to where this sits flush with everything. Not a big deal, but we can get it. Alright, so this is fitted. I like the way it's sitting. Get a nice good fit in there. So I'm probably going to wait till I get the barrel and install the barrel before I drill this. That's just an FYI because I want to make sure this is lined up and I get the hole right, because I'm going to have one shot to drill that. I don't want to have to be repinning that and putting a dowel rod in there and all that fun stuff. So I'm just going to leave that as is for now, and I'll get that later once we go to installing the barrel and getting everything set there. So we've just installed the trigger in the trigger pack. Now, one thing I want to talk about is this trigger. There is some type of bolt or something that runs either through the bottom or the top, but this looks threaded down here. So I'm assuming there is going to be one of these long screws that is going to run down like this into the trigger guard. I am not going to drill and tap, or at least drill the back of this hole to seat that trigger in position until I am ready to install the barrel and I run that screw in. Reason why is I only have one chance to pre-drill that hole. And if I pre-drill that hole in the wrong spot, I'm going to have a lot of fitment issues. So for right now, due to what SDI has given an assignment, I'm actually going to hold off on fully installing the trigger guard, because if I don't, I can run into a lot of issues down the road, and I don't want to do that. So I'm using my judgment on this one. I will not be installing that screw in there until I'm ready to seat the barrel and do the final function check. That way, I make sure everything's good to go and everything's working. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to go on to shaping this portion of the stock. Give it a look. I don't like how this is turning out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go my way about it, because sitting here for hours with files is not going to work. So, all in all, I'd say we're looking really good. Nice and level. Curves where there's curves. Some of this material is going to come down here, so it'll flatten out. Now, this is just with 40 grit right now. Nice and straight. Alright, so I think everything went fairly well. As challenging as this looked with the amount of wood that was behind here when we first started to what we have now, I would say the process went relatively easy. Of course, sanders make that a hell of a lot easier. I think everything came out great. I'm really happy with the results. All the edges flow together nicely, and it really is making this gun turn out. I mean, that is just beautiful. Now, of course, the brass, I know that, a lot of times they say don't sand into the brass, but I am trying to keep everything evened up, and I think sanding into the brass actually is going to help me out quite a bit, because I didn't do as good of a job inlighting as I thought, and sanding that brass helps bring it concentric and smooth and everything like that with the surface. Now, there's another caveat. So we've installed the trigger guard, and of course I don't have the screw back here right now because I'm going to get brass screws and replace those and make them go flush and all that fun stuff. But The reason I do not have the triggers installed and the side of the lock installed is because I still have a ton of sanding to do down here, and that we're going to do in our last video. Now, there's a lot of other stuff that has to go on down here. We got to put these pins in. So I haven't necessarily installed these yet because I want to get the whole gun done before I put it together for the first time. And at that point, you know, with the trigger, there is a screw that you have to drill in the back and screw into the stock. I don't want to do that until I get the main bolt that comes down from the barrel and screws into the trigger assembly. I want to get all that done first and then worry about any holes that I have to drill in position from there. But either way, I am really, really impressed with how this is coming out. Like I said, if you have a little mouse sander, especially an orbital sander, it's going to make this entire job super smooth for you. Because you're going to be able to throw some 40 grit sandpaper on there and just start chewing to town, boy. And let me tell you, this stuff will rapidly remove wood. I just can't get over how well this turned out back here and how well that the butt of this firearm looks. I am just ecstatic with how that turned out. So it surely is coming together. I like the feel of it. Feels pretty good on the shoulder for the most part. That's going to kill the shoulder. Can't wait to shoot the thing. But this really, you know, in all joking aside, this really did turn out. I'm really impressed with how well this turned out. So I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving that's going to watch this in between now and then. And we will see you next week. We will have a new video uploaded with the final parts of this muzzleloader. And then hopefully we can get out to the range and get some test firing done. Can't wait to do that. But of course, we're going to have to cast some lead first. So, might have another video coming on that. Anyways, thanks for watching out there, folks. I hope you found this helpful and informative. I know what looks like an absolute tyranny really isn't all that bad once you start taking it off. And like I said, if you do not have an orbital sander, I highly recommend you go and buy one. If you're going to sit there with files, I'm just going to tell you, you're going to be there for a long time. So get an orbital sander and get a little mouse sander and start going to town, and this thing will turn out for you really, really well. So anyways, thanks for watching. I will see you again soon. And of course, make sure, see that little button right there that says subscribe? Definitely subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends and family. I know these videos are helpful. I just try to do it to help folks out. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you soon.